My sister demanded my Lakehouse for her wedding. When I said no, she destroyed $50,000 of our grandmother's antiques, poisoned my dog, and tried to burn the house down, but the security cameras were rolling. Hi everyone! Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Posted by you/Lakehouse Nightmare 30. I need to get this out before I lose my mind. I'm James, 30M, and what happened this weekend has me questioning everything about my family, my sanity, and whether blood really means anything at all. I own a lake house in northern Michigan that my grandmother left me when she passed 5 years ago. It's not just property to me, it's where I spent every summer as a kid, where Grandma taught me to fish at sunrise, where she kept all her antiques that had been in our family for generations. Every piece in that house has a story. The dining table where my great-grandfather proposed to my great-grandmother in 1923. The china cabinet that survived their journey from Poland. The Victorian settee my grandmother bought with her first paycheck as a nurse in 1952. My younger sister Emily, 24F, got engaged 6 months ago to Michael, a guy she'd been dating for 2 years. Good for her, right? I was genuinely happy for her at first. Michael seemed like a decent guy, stable job as an accountant, treated her well, got along with the family. But something changed in Emily the moment that ring went on her finger. She turned into an absolute nightmare, like someone had flipped a switch. The sweet, if occasionally spoiled, sister I knew disappeared, replaced by this entitled, demanding stranger. She decided my lake house would be the perfect venue for her June wedding. She didn't ask, she announced it at Sunday dinner like it was already decided, pulling out her phone to show everyone Pinterest boards she'd made of her vision for the property. She'd planned where the ceremony arch would go on the dock, where they'd set up the reception tent in the backyard, how she'd string lights through the trees. She'd even picked out which rooms her bridesmaids would stay in. When I said no, explaining I had already rented it out for most of June and July to regular clients, I used the rental income to maintain the property and pay the considerable taxes, she literally laughed. Not a nervous laugh or an embarrassed laugh, a dismissive, cruel laugh like I'd made a particularly stupid joke. Just cancel them, she said, waving her hand like she was brushing away a fly. This is more important. I tried to explain rationally why this wouldn't work. The lake house has 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and can maybe handle 20 people comfortably on a good day. Emily wanted to invite over 150 guests. The septic system alone couldn't handle that many people. We're talking about a system designed in the 1960s for a small family, not a massive wedding reception. The single bathroom would have lines stretching to the dock. The electrical system would blow if she tried to set up the DJ equipment and catering warmers she was planning. Plus, the antique furniture inside, Grandma's china cabinet from 1890 containing her complete Depression glass collection, the hand-carved oak dining set that seated 8, the Victorian settee with original horsehair stuffing and burgundy velvet upholstery, none of it could survive a wedding reception. These weren't just antiques, they were museum-quality pieces that I'd spent thousands maintaining properly. The humidity control alone for that house costs me $200 a month to protect those pieces. But Emily has always been the golden child. My parents, Robert, 58M, and Linda, 56F, have never told her no in her life. When she was 5 and wanted a pony, they bought her riding lessons. When she was 16 and crashed her first car 3 weeks after getting it, they bought her a newer, safer one. When she dropped out of college after 2 years because it was too stressful, they supported her and paid for her apartment while she found herself. Meanwhile, I worked 2 jobs through college, paid my own rent, and the only thing I ever inherited was the lake house, and that was only because Grandma specifically willed it to me, probably because she knew I was the only one who truly loved it like she did. When I stood firm about the wedding, Emily started this campaign of manipulation that would have impressed a military strategist. First came the tears, dramatic, hysterical sobbing at family dinners about how I was ruining her dreams. Then the guilt trips about how Grandma would have wanted it, how Grandma loved weddings, and would be horrified at my selfishness. She even claimed Grandma had promised her she could get married there when she was little, which was a complete fabrication. Then she got our parents involved, and they called me selfish and said I should support family. My mother actually said, "James, you're not even married. You don't understand how important a wedding venue is to a bride." My father added that I was being stubborn just like your grandmother, which he meant as an insult but I took as a compliment. The extended family got pulled in next. Emily created a group chat called Wedding Planning, and added all our aunts, uncles, and cousins, where she painted me as this villain standing between her and her perfect day. She'd post things like, "So heartbroken that some people don't understand the importance of family," and "Just wish certain siblings understood that love means sacrifice." I held firm through all of it. I even offered alternatives. I'd pay for half of another venue rental as her wedding gift. I'd help her find lakeside venues that were actually equipped for weddings. I'd give her a generous check to put toward whatever venue she wanted. Every offer was rejected with increasing hostility. Last Thursday changed everything. I got a call at 2 p.m. from my neighbor at the lake, Gary, a retired state trooper who keeps an eye on the place when I'm not there. His voice was tense. "James, I don't want to alarm you, but Emily's car has been in your driveway for about 2 hours. I heard some concerning noises, crashes, breaking glass. Thought you should know. I was at work in the city, 2 hours away. I immediately called Emily, no answer. Called again, straight to voicemail. Called my parents, they said she was handling something and would call me back. My mother's tone was odd, evasive. My stomach dropped. I told my boss I had a family emergency and left immediately. During the drive, I called Emily 17 times. Nothing. I called Michael. He said she'd told him she was going wedding dress shopping with friends. I asked Gary to check closer, but he said she'd locked all the doors and drawn the curtains. What I found when I walked in will haunt me forever. The first thing I saw was the china cabinet, that beautiful piece that had stood in the same corner for 50 years, on its side in the middle of the living room floor. Every single piece of my grandmother's Depression glass collection, 127 pieces she'd collected throughout her entire life, was shattered across the hardwood. Pink, green, and amber glass ground into dust and shards. The cabinet itself was split down the middle, its hand-carved details splintered. The dining room was worse. The oak table had been attacked with what looked like a hatchet or hammer, deep gouges across its surface, chunks actually chopped out of the legs. The 8 matching chairs had been systematically destroyed, backs broken off, seats split, legs snapped. The sideboard mirror was shattered, the drawers pulled out and thrown, their contents, grandma's silverware, table linens she'd embroidered by hand, scattered and torn. The Victorian settee's original velvet upholstery was slashed to ribbons, stuffing pulled out and strewn around like snow. Every family photo on the walls had been torn from frames and ripped to pieces. The stained glass window in the front door that my grandfather had made in his workshop in 1967, a scene of loons on the lake, was smashed, colored glass crunching under my feet as I walked. But she wasn't done. I found Emily in the back bedroom, the one that had been my grandmother's, spray painting on the wall in red paint. She'd already written, "Selfish asshole," in 3-foot letters and was starting on, "You ruined everything," when I walked in. "What the hell are you doing?" I shouted, my voice cracking with rage and disbelief. She spun around with this twisted smile I'd never seen before, paint can still in hand. "Making improvements for my wedding," she said, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Since you won't give it to me nicely, I'm taking it anyway. And oops, looks like your precious antiques had some accidents." I told her to get out immediately or I was calling the police. She laughed, actually laughed, and said, "Go ahead. Mom and Dad will bail me out and you'll look like the asshole who called the cops on his own sister." I pulled out my phone to dial 911. The second she saw me actually doing it, her entire demeanor changed. She dropped the paint can, and her face transformed into this mask of terror. She started screaming, screaming at the top of her lungs. "Don't hurt me! Please! Someone help me! He's going to kill me!" while backing away from me with her hands up like I was approaching her with a weapon. I was across the room, hadn't moved toward her at all, just standing there with my phone in my hand, frozen in shock at this performance. She ran past me, still screaming, "Help! He's attacking me!" loud enough for the entire lake to hear, and sprinted to her car. She peeled out of the driveway, still honking her horn in apparent distress. 20 minutes later, while I was still on the phone with 911 reporting the vandalism, my parents were calling me. My father was screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Emily had driven straight to their house, hysterical, with red paint on her hands that she claimed was blood from where I'd grabbed her. She told them I'd attacked her, grabbed her by the throat, shoved her against the wall, and threatened to kill her if she ever came back. I tried to explain, tried to tell them about the destruction, but they wouldn't listen. "We're coming over there right now," my mother said. "Don't you dare leave." While waiting for both the police and my parents, I walked through the house documenting everything with my phone. The more I saw, the more I realized this wasn't random destruction in a fit of rage. This was systematic, calculated. She'd targeted every single piece that had belonged to our grandmother, every item with sentimental value. She'd left the TV, the modern furniture I'd bought, the electronics, all untouched. This was about causing maximum emotional damage. The police arrived first. Officer Patricia Thompson, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes who became increasingly horrified as I walked her through each room. She took photos, documented everything meticulously, and asked if I had any idea who did this. My sister, I said. She's on her way here with my parents. She's already told them I attacked her, but I never touched her. Officer Thompson raised an eyebrow. Is there any history of violence between you? Never. I've never laid a hand on her or anyone else in my life. My parents arrived while Officer Thompson was still documenting. They stormed in, my father's face purple with rage, my mother crying. How could you? She screamed at me. Your own sister. Officer Thompson intervened. Ma'am, sir, I'm going to need you to calm down. This is a crime scene. Crime scene. My father scoffed. The only crime is what he did to Emily. Officer Thompson gestured to the destroyed dining room. And who did this? That doesn't matter right now, my mother said. Actually said those words while standing in the ruins of her own mother's belongings. Our daughter is traumatized. I sent them the photos I'd taken on my phone. Their response came in a family group text an hour later. Things can be replaced, but you traumatized your sister. You need anger management. Things can be replaced. The china that survived the Great Depression, that my grandmother washed by hand every Sunday for 60 years. The table where my grandparents shared every meal of their marriage. The photos of ancestors whose names I'll never know now because Emily destroyed the only copies. Things can be replaced. The estimated damage, according to the insurance adjuster and antique appraisers I had to bring in, was over $50,000. Many pieces were literally irreplaceable. They don't make hand-blown depression glass anymore. You can't recreate a hand-carved Victorian settee with historical significance. Emily, meanwhile, started her campaign on social media. She posted photos of red paint on her hands claiming they were bruises. She wrote long, emotional posts about surviving abuse, about the horror of being attacked by someone you trust. She never mentioned the destruction, never mentioned why she was at the Lakehouse. Just painted herself as a victim of her violent brother who went crazy when she tried to talk about the wedding. My cousins started calling me. My Aunt Nancy, my father's sister, posted on Facebook about men who hurt women with my name barely hidden. Some people, she wrote, think property matters more than people. Some James people think they can put their hands on women and get away with it. I hired a lawyer, Brian Chen, a friend from college who specialized in criminal law. He looked at everything, the police report, the photos, the estimates, and said we had a solid case for felony destruction of property and breaking and entering. But I need you to understand, he said, filing charges against your sister will probably destroy your relationship with your family. What relationship? I asked, looking at the text from my mother calling me a monster. We filed charges. Emily was arrested the following Monday at her apartment. My parents bailed her out within 2 hours and hired her a defense attorney. The family group chat exploded with messages calling me every name imaginable. Vindictive, cruel, heartless, abusive. Only one family member reached out with support, my cousin Jennifer, who privately messaged me, I know Emily's lying. She's always been like this. But be careful, she's not done with you. Jennifer had no idea how right she was. Update 1. 2 weeks after the incident. The semi-good news first. We had the security footage from my front door camera showing Emily entering with what was clearly an illegally copied key, carrying the paint can and what looked like tools. My lawyer Brian was ecstatic. It destroyed her claim that I'd invited her over and then attacked her. We also found something interesting when reviewing the footage. Emily had visited the Lakehouse 3 other times in the previous month when I wasn't there. Each time staying for about an hour. She'd been planning this, casing the place, deciding what to destroy for maximum impact. Now the horrible news that still makes me shake with rage when I think about it. Last Wednesday, I came home from work to find my apartment door slightly ajar. My heart stopped. I live on the 3rd floor of a secure building. You need a key fob to get in, then a key for the apartment. I pushed the door open carefully, calling out, but got no response. Max, my 6-year-old golden retriever, was in his crate where I leave him during workdays. But something was horribly wrong. There was vomit everywhere, and he was lying on his side, barely breathing, drooling, his eyes unfocused. I've never driven so fast in my life. I carried him into the emergency vet, screaming for help. The vet took one look and rushed him back. The next 2 hours were the longest of my life. Dr. Jennifer Rodriguez came out finally, her face grim. He's been poisoned. Antifreeze. The amount in his system. You're lucky you got here when you did. Another hour and... Max spent 4 days in the ICU. 4 days of 4 fluids, medications, constant monitoring. 4 days of me sleeping in my car in the parking lot because they wouldn't let me stay inside, but I couldn't leave him. The bill came to $8,347. I didn't care. I would have sold everything I owned. But here's the thing, my apartment building has cameras everywhere. My landlord, horrified by what happened, immediately pulled the footage. There was Emily, clear as day, entering the building at 11:47 a.m. with a key fob, going to my apartment with a key, staying for 23 minutes, then leaving. She's seen carrying a small bag in but not out. When I confronted her via text, Brian told me to document everything in writing. Her response made my blood run cold. Maybe your dog just ate something bad. You should be more careful. Would be such a shame if something worse happened. I immediately filed another police report for animal cruelty, breaking and entering, and criminal threats. The vet testified that the amount of antifreeze was deliberate poisoning, not accidental ingestion. We got an emergency restraining order that same day. When Emily was served with a restraining order at our parents' house, she called them crying that I was ruining her wedding and making her look like a criminal. My mother actually called me and said, "I'll never forget these words. You care more about that dog than your sister's happiness." "She tried to murder my dog," I said, my voice shaking. "Don't be so dramatic," my mother replied. "She would never do that. The dog must have gotten into something. Emily was probably just checking on your apartment as a favor." A favor. Breaking into my home and poisoning my dog. A favor. The extended family situation got worse. Emily ramped up her social media campaign, posting old photos of us as kids with captions like, "Remember when my brother actually loved me?" and "Before he chose property over family." She posted a photo of herself at what she claimed was a therapy session. It was just a random office building, talking about recovering from trauma. But then something unexpected happened. Michael, her fiancé, called me. "James, I need to know what's really going on," he said. "Emily's stories aren't adding up. She told me you offered the Lakehouse months ago, that you have a drinking problem and attacked her in a blackout rage. But I've known you for 2 years, and this doesn't sound right." I emailed him everything. The police reports, the security footage, the vet records, photos of the destruction, screenshots of her texts. All of it. He called me back an hour later. His voice was hollow. "Oh my God. Oh my God, James, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. She told me. She said you were jealous of our engagement, that you'd always been possessive of her. I'm calling off the wedding." When Emily found out Michael and I had talked, she went nuclear. She called me from a blocked number, violating the restraining order, and left a voicemail that Brian later called Exhibit A for prosecution. In it, she screamed that she would destroy everything you love, that I would pay for ruining her life, and that Max was just the beginning. My lawyer had me stay with my friend David for my safety. Max, once he was released from the vet, went to stay with another friend in a different city. I varied my routes to work, installed security cameras in my apartment, changed all my locks again, and started carrying pepper spray. The prosecutor decided to move forward with multiple charges against Emily. The evidence was overwhelming. But my parents hired her an expensive defense attorney who started arguing that Emily was having a mental health crisis brought on by wedding stress and family rejection. I couldn't believe we were related. This person who had systematically destroyed my grandmother's legacy, who had tried to kill my dog, who was making my life a living hell, this was my baby sister. The little girl I taught to ride a bike, who I protected from bullies in middle school, who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. But that person was gone, if she ever really existed. Update 2-3 months after the incident. After my last update, things went quiet for about 6 weeks. Emily's lawyer was negotiating with the prosecutor, trying to get the charges reduced to misdemeanors, arguing that she needed treatment, not jail time. My lawyer Brian warned me this was probably the calm before the storm. During this time, Michael not only called off the wedding but also sent me a long email apologizing. He explained that once he started looking back with clear eyes, he could see the red flags he'd ignored. Times Emily had lied about small things, her extreme reactions to minor disappointments, how she'd isolated him from certain friends who questioned her behavior. He was in therapy now, trying to understand how he'd missed it all. My parents, predictably, blamed me for the cancelled wedding. They'd put down deposits, sent invitations, bought her dress. All that money wasted, because I couldn't let things go. They started calling extended family, trying to get people to pressure me to drop the charges. But something interesting happened. Michael had posted on Facebook about why the wedding was cancelled, not dramatically, just a simple statement about discovering irreconcilable differences and behaviors I cannot support. When people asked for details, he directed them to the public police reports. Suddenly, family members who'd been attacking me started reaching out with apologies. My Aunt Nancy deleted her post about me. Cousins who'd called me an abuser were now sharing stories of Emily's past behavior they'd dismissed or ignored. Like the time she keyed her college roommate's car for using her shampoo. Or when she spread rumors about a coworker who got a promotion Emily wanted, nearly getting the woman fired. 3 weeks ago, everything came to a head in a way I never could have imagined. It was a Tuesday night, about 2 a.m. I was actually asleep for once, not lying awake worrying, when my phone exploded with alerts from my security system at the Lakehouse. I fumbled for my phone, opened the app, and felt my heart stop. Emily was there. But not alone. She had 2 large men with her I didn't recognize, and they were working on prying open a back window with crowbars. I immediately started recording everything on the app while calling 911 on David's phone. The dispatcher told me units were en route and to stay where I was, do not go to the property myself. But here's where Emily's arrogance finally destroyed her. The internal cameras I'd installed had audio, and she was talking. Loudly. Clearly. Like she was giving a presentation. "This is my grandmother's house," she was telling the men. "My brother stole it from me. I have every right to be here. My ex-boyfriend was abusive and changed the locks illegally. I just need to get my things out." One of the men seemed uncertain. "You sure about this? Feels like breaking and entering to me." Emily laughed. "I'll pay you extra. Look, here's what we're doing. First, we're getting all the antique furniture out. It's worth thousands and it's rightfully mine. My grandmother promised it to me. Load it into the truck you brought." She continued, and this next part is what my lawyer later called the golden ticket for prosecution. "After we get everything valuable out, we're going to have a little accident. You're going to leave the gas stove on and I'm going to accidentally knock over that candle. These old houses burn fast. Insurance will pay for a new house, and my brother will have to let me have my wedding here next summer when it's rebuilt. Or better yet, he'll be too broke to keep it and I'll buy it from him cheap." One of the men immediately stepped back. "Lady, that's arson. That's serious jail time. I'm out." "5,000 each," Emily said. "Cash. Tonight." The other man shook his head. "No way. This is crazy. You said this was your house, that we were just moving furniture." That's when the police arrived. 3 cars, lights blazing, officers approaching with hands on weapons. The 2 men immediately put their hands up. Emily tried to run but was tackled by an officer in the backyard. I watched it all on my phone, David beside me, both of us in absolute shock. She'd actually planned to burn down the Lakehouse. My grandmother's house, with all its memories, all its history. She was going to destroy it completely out of spite. The 2 men immediately cooperated with police. They were just guys from Craigslist who thought they were helping someone move. They had the text messages from Emily offering them $500 each for a moving job, then the texts increasing it to $5,000 each once they arrived and learned the real plan. They wanted nothing to do with arson and were horrified they'd been dragged into this. Emily was charged with a attempted breaking and entering, a conspiracy to commit arson, insurance fraud conspiracy, a violation of the restraining order, or attempted grand larceny, a solicitation of felony crimes. This time, given the severity and the clear escalation pattern, the judge denied bail. Emily has been in county jail for 3 weeks now, awaiting trial. The most shocking development came 2 days after her arrest. My parents called me. For the first time since this started, my mother was crying genuine tears, not manipulative ones. Emily had called them from jail, and in what her lawyer later described as a mental break, confessed everything. Not just the Lakehouse destruction and Max's poisoning, but years of things we never knew about. She'd been stealing from our parents for years, had gotten fired from 3 jobs for theft but told everyone she quit, had been running credit card scams using our father's information. But the worst part, she told them she had a notebook where she'd been planning my accidents for after she got out. She'd researched how to make a car's brakes fail, how much insulin it would take to cause a fatal hypoglycemic event, how to make a death look like suicide. My mother's voice was broken when she said, "James, I'm so sorry. We enabled this. We created this. We always made excuses for her, always believed her lies. We failed you and we failed her." My father sent me a long email detailing all the times over the years they'd chosen to believe Emily over evidence, chose peace over truth, chose enabling over accountability. Times I didn't even remember when Emily had done something wrong and blamed me, and they'd punished me instead of investigating. "We're getting therapy," he wrote. "Individual and couples. We need to understand how we became these people who would choose a comfortable lie over our son's safety." I haven't responded. I don't know if I ever will. They're not asking for forgiveness, which I appreciate, but the damage is done. They watched her destroy our grandmother's legacy and blamed me. They heard she'd poisoned my dog and made excuses. It took her planning to burn down a house and potentially murder me for them to see what she really was. Emily's trial is in 2 months. Her lawyer is pushing for a plea deal with mental health treatment instead of prison. Brian says the evidence is so overwhelming that the prosecutor is holding firm. They want real jail time. The recorded confession about planning to burn the house is apparently the kind of evidence prosecutors dream about. Max has fully recovered and is back home with me. He's more cautious now, won't eat anything I don't directly give him, but he's otherwise his sweet, goofy self. The vet says he's lucky to have no lasting organ damage. The Lakehouse is being slowly restored. Insurance covered a lot of the damage, and I've been finding period-appropriate antiques to replace what was destroyed. It will never be the same. Those were Grandma's things, with her history, her touch, but I'm trying to honor her memory. I've had to cut contact with most of my extended family. Some have apologized, but the trust is gone. The fact that they were so ready to believe I was an abuser, without ever asking for my side, shows me who they really are. The only family I speak to regularly is Jennifer, who's been a rock through all this. I'm in therapy twice a week, processing not just the recent trauma but a lifetime of being the scapegoat for Emily's behavior. My therapist says Emily likely has antisocial personality disorder with narcissistic features, and that her escalation pattern suggests she was always capable of violence. She just never faced consequences before. I've also started a security consulting business on the side, helping other property owners protect themselves. It's actually doing well. Turns out I'm not the only one with family members who feel entitled to property that isn't theirs. Last week, I got a letter from Emily in jail. Brian told me not to open it, to give it straight to him for evidence. But I had to know what she'd say. It was exactly what you'd expect: blame, manipulation, gaslighting. According to her, I ruined her life over a misunderstanding. She actually wrote that the antifreeze was meant for rats at the Lakehouse, and she was trying to help by putting it in my apartment too. The planned arson was just venting frustration, and she never would have gone through with it. I'm the real villain for not just giving her one day at the Lakehouse. The letter ended with a threat disguised as a warning: when I get out, you better watch yourself. Accidents happen all the time. Brian was thrilled. She'd just added witness intimidation to her charges. Final update: 6 months after the incident. This morning, Emily took a plea deal. 8 years in prison with the possibility of parole in 5, mandatory psychiatric treatment, permanent restraining order, and full restitution for all damages including Max's vet bills. It's done. It's finally done. The trial would have been a slam dunk according to the prosecutor, but they offered the deal to spare everyone the trauma of a trial and to ensure she got mental health treatment. Emily's lawyer convinced her to take it when he explained she was looking at potentially 15 to 20 years if convicted on all charges, especially the conspiracy to commit arson. My parents have been in therapy for 4 months now. Last week, my father sent me another email, not asking for forgiveness or a relationship, just updating me that they're selling the family home and downsizing. They're putting the difference in a trust for Emily's treatment and eventual reintegration into society after prison, with strict conditions and oversight. They admitted they can't trust themselves to not enable her again without professional structure. We failed both our children, he wrote. We created a monster with Emily and made you the sacrifice to keep peace. The therapist says we were enmeshed with Emily and emotionally neglectful to you. We're working on understanding why we made these choices, but that's our work to do, not yours to witness. I appreciated the accountability, but I still haven't responded. Maybe someday, but not now. Michael reached out last month to tell me he's engaged to someone new. He wanted me to know he's in a healthy relationship now and thanked me again for showing him the truth about Emily. He also warned me that Emily had tried to write him from jail, claiming I had manipulated him against her. He didn't respond and sent the letter to my lawyer. The Lakehouse is almost fully restored. I spent last weekend there, sitting on the dock where Grandma and I used to fish, watching the sunrise. I found an old photo album that had been in the basement, one Emily hadn't known about. Pictures of Grandma as a young woman, of the house being built, of family gatherings from decades past. I'm having them digitally preserved and backed up in multiple locations. Max and I go up there every weekend now. He loves swimming in the lake, and seeing him happy and healthy makes everything worth it. I've also started hosting Sunday dinners for my chosen family: David, Brian and his family, Jennifer, and other friends who've supported me through this nightmare. The security business has taken off. I now have 3 employees and more clients than I can handle. Turns out my story spread in certain circles, and property owners with difficult family members want someone who understands the threat from experience. I've helped prevent 2 attempted break-ins and 1 attempted fraud just this month. I still have nightmares sometimes. I still check my locks obsessively. I still test Max's food before giving it to him. The trauma doesn't just disappear because the threat is behind bars. But therapy is helping, and time is helping more. I've learned so much from this experience. That family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when everything falls apart. That when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. That enabling isn't love, it's cowardice dressed up as compassion. That sometimes the most loving thing you can do is hold someone accountable for their actions. To anyone dealing with a similar situation, here's my advice. Document everything. Trust your instincts. Don't let, but family, guilt you into accepting abuse. Get security cameras before you need them. When someone escalates to property destruction or violence against pets, know that you're next. And never, ever doubt yourself when everyone else is telling you you're wrong but the evidence says you're right. Sometimes losing your family is actually finding your freedom. Sometimes the empty spaces they leave fill up with better people, healthier relationships, real love instead of obligatory connection. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best life you could have imagined. I'm sitting in my apartment now, Max snoring beside me, planning next weekend's trip to the Lakehouse. Jennifer and her kids are coming up. They've never been fishing before, and I'm going to teach them the way Grandma taught me. We're starting new traditions, building new memories, creating a family bound by choice rather than chance. Emily will be eligible for parole in 5 years. When that time comes, I'll be at the hearing to remind them about Max, about the Lakehouse, about the arson plan, about the threats. But for now, I'm free. She's behind bars, I have a restraining order, and I have a life she can't touch. The last thing Grandma said to me before she died was, "Take care of the house, Jamie. It's not just walls and furniture, it's all the love we put into it." I failed to protect her physical belongings from Emily's rage, but I protected what really mattered. The love, the memories, the tradition of Sunday dinners and fishing at sunrise and choosing family who chooses you back. That's the real inheritance Grandma left me. And that's something Emily could never destroy. Edit. Since several people have asked, yes, I'm writing a book about this experience. My therapist actually suggested it as part of processing the trauma. If it gets published, I'll donate part of the proceeds to a local animal shelter in Max's honor and part to a fund for victims of family violence. Final edit. Just got confirmation that Emily was officially transferred to the Women's Correctional Facility this morning. She'll serve her time 3 hours away from here. My lawyer says the restraining order will automatically renew upon her release, and she'll be on probation for an additional 5 years after that. Any violation will send her straight back to prison. It's as close to justice as I'm going to get, and honestly, it's enough. It's finally enough.